Here from the SheHH team. Welcome back to the SheHH Podcast, where we interview women in Christian music all over the world. We're back with Series 3. In this episode, we'll be talking with UK singer-songwriter WhenSheSpeaks, all about her new EP project, Redemption, as well as how important it is to her to keep an honest and open mind when creating gospel music. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at SheHH Podcast and share this with a friend.
Hey sis.
Hey.
So I was gonna say when she speaks, but it feels a bit strange to call you your artist name. But how would you introduce yourself to someone who doesn't know you and what you do?
My name's Tomi. I go by WhenSheSpeaks as my artist name. But yeah, that's really it.
And what art are you doing?
Oh, see.
Is it what don't you do?
I hate that question because it's so hard. I just say I'm creative. That's just what I say. Yeah. I am a creative, but mainly at the moment it's mainly music and poetry.
I love that. Music and poetry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we actually go to the same church. So it feels a bit weird speaking to you as I mean, not weird because you're amazing, but I actually know you, girl.
Yeah.
I saw you on Sunday, you know?
Literally.
And yeah, she's really great. Great vibes, generous,
Thank you.
Generous, genuine person. Really like you a lot. But I would love to know where your artist name WhenSheSpeaks even came from.
Okay. So I was in uni and I always wanted to do poetry because I loved poetry growing up. I just felt like it was so easy to communicate how I felt. So I remember being in my room in first year and being like, okay, cool. I'm going to start a poetry blog. And I just sat there and I was like, what am I going to call it? And then WhenSheSpeaks just came and I was like, all right, cool, let me just write it. And I just left it. And then I remember a week later, after putting out my first post, I was reading my Bible and I came across Proverbs 31:26. And it literally said, when she speaks, her words are wise and she gives instruction with kindness.
Wow.
And I was just like, this is it. This is why.
Wait, so you got the name even before you read that scripture?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was just like, well, that's it then. And I was like, I'm never going to change it. Because for me, it was the poetry that I was putting out, I always wanted it to be encouraging. I always wanted to shed light on serious issues without putting too much weight on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. I love when God works out like that, where it's literally
Honestly.
you were reading it. No, you heard it and then you read it and you're like, yeah, this is
That's
a God
literally
thing.
it, yeah.
I love that. And you're so young, but you're really your music style, your voice is super soulful, super
Thank
mature. Your vocal range is crazy. People don't know.
Thank you.
Nah, your vocal range is crazy because when I heard you during worship at church, where you were singing, I want to say the soprano parts, the high parts.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching your music video and you're singing low parts. I said, do you want to can you leave some notes for the rest of us? Please.
So done.
You have
Thank
such a wide, mature vocal range. And
Thank you.
I would love to know some of the artistic, stylistic voices that you grew up listening to who've influenced you.
Oh, Lord. My music range is very wide. I can't lie.
So this is why.
I grew up listening to a lot of soul music. I listened to Nat King Cole.
Wow.
I listened to Harry Belafonte. That was really, really me. I think Patti LaBelle and Anita Baker are two huge ones. And Ella Fitzgerald. Because I love jazz. I love the way it's so free flow. And I just love scatting as well. So I've just always been fascinated.
You're a scatter.
I've always been fascinated by scatting. So I was just I'm just going to sit here. And I would sit and watch Ella Fitzgerald for hours and just listen to her scatting. I'm like, how does she do it? How does she find these notes? But I think it's just that freedom in just enjoying what you do. So yeah, those are definitely my biggest ones growing up. But I think more recently it's been Neo for sure.
Oh,
Neo.
yes.
Her range, it doesn't make sense. Her range doesn't make sense. She's so underrated.
People are saying that about you as well. So just so you know.
Amen. One day.
No, I love that because I feel like those soulful jazzy tones definitely come across in your style of music.
Thank you.
Speaking of the music, we're going to jump right in with some of the singles that you put out last year. It was a good year for music for When She Speaks, like super vibey songs, heartfelt. I'm going to start with one of my faves. This is actually, I think, the first song that when I went on your Spotify, I listened to and I was like, okay, this is what she's about. It's called Hold On. So can you tell us a bit about this song, maybe the story behind it, writing it, and yeah, just what you were putting into the song?
Hold On's a very, very special song to my heart. I was kind of in transition from one producer to another and I really wanted to give up with music. I was like, this thing is long, not gonna lie. Like, I don't really want to do it anymore. And then I found a new producer in Birmingham because I was in Coventry at the time because I was at uni. And I was just like, nah, this guy actually gets my sound. And the day before I went to the studio, I discovered, I don't know if you've heard of Red Hands.
Yeah, the band, right? They're a group.
Yeah. I fell in love. I was like, no, this is it. Like, and I hadn't heard, because for me, it was like, I hadn't heard gospel like this in a long time. Like anything that was gospel was like Kim Burrell, like back in the day, that was really, really heavily soulful. So hearing that, I was like, yes, people get it. So I went into the studio the next day and I was like, I want to do something like this. And he was like, okay, cool. And then we both just sat there and looked at each other. And he was like, start singing. Like, sing your lyrics. I said, I don't have any. He was like, so you don't have any lyrics? You don't have... I was like, okay, cool. So we just looked at each other for like 2 minutes. It was like, okay, cool. Started playing around with stuff. And I'd just be like, okay, keep that. Nah, leave that. Keep that. And then we basically had a bass and he left to go get lunch and left me for about like 20 minutes. Came back and he was like, do you have anything? And I was like, yeah, the song's finished. And that was literally it. Like,
sorry, how long did it take you to write this fantastic song?
About like 20 minutes.
Wow.
But I think at the same time, it was a lot of stuff that was already on my heart.
Yeah, that you really wanted to speak about.
Yeah, because I was following a series on a preaching series on YouTube by Rock City Church. And they were talking about, you know, being focused on your purpose, being focused on what God's called you to do and letting go of the things that aren't for you. So I feel like being in that series and just how my life was going at the time, it was just very much on my heart. Like, yeah, this is what needs to be said right now. Like,
yeah,
stop being scared of everything that's going on around you and just focus and just hit the ground running. Because if you never do anything, you'll never get anywhere.
That's true. And I love that it lined up in timings where you were already listening to that series and that's when the song came out.
Honestly.
Again, a God thing.
Literally.
He be good at what he does. Like, he's really good at it, honestly. And the second song is also really heartfelt and like honest, which is a real theme. We're going to touch on it later on, but it's a real theme when everything relating to you comes out. Like, you're very honest and authentic in your music and in your poetry. Foothold.
Yes.
This is really personal. Like, it feels, I remember listening to it and like automatically thinking about the things I be dealing with in my life. And I was like, that only comes and happens when someone authentically puts their life into a song. So feel free to say as much or as little as you like, but what was the story behind writing Foothold?
Again, it was another spontaneous moment.
Wow.
I just remember being on the phone to one of my friends and being like, I want to work with you. And he was like, okay, cool. He was like, do you have the song? I was like, no. Do you know what I mean? I just know I want to work with you. And he was like, okay, cool. And he just started playing the guitar over the phone. And he was like, give me a word. So I gave him
over the phone, you know?
Yeah, literally over, it wasn't even FaceTime, it was just over the phone.
Wow.
He was like, give me a word. So I gave him a random word and he just started like speaking on the spot. And I was like, okay, cool. Then he was like, I'm going to give you a word. I'm going to make it hard. And I was like, right, okay. And then he was like, Foothold. And I just sat there like, what am I going to do with Foothold now? And I was just like, it's like you got a foothold on me. And then he just came up with the melody on the spot. And it was literally that. And I think after that, again, everything is God ordained. Like, after that, I think it was the week after, and I was studying Elijah and how, you know, that when he wanted to die, and he was like, God, just take me now.
I'm done.
And then God was just like, rest, go to sleep.
Eat some food,
and go to sleep. And then he rested, woke up again. He was like, no, eat some more food. Eat some, like you need rest. And I think that for me was just like a bit of an eye opener, because sometimes like growing up in church, there are certain things that just never talked about as a child. And I think they need to be highlighted a little bit more. And me, myself, going through waves of like suicidal thoughts, it was just like, raw, like, just like you did for him is what you're doing for me. And why? I think for me, it was just a big question of why. Like, why do you still want me here? Like, what is it about me that you're still keeping me around? And I think that's what helped me write the rest of Foothold. It was just like, you've got something for me. Like, clearly you're seeing something in me that I can't see
myself.
So that's why you want me around. And then, I knew that I wanted to put it out. It was a bit vulnerable putting it out.
Yeah.
But I knew that it was the right thing to do.
No, I love that you are authentically yourself in these songs.
Thank you.
And not just authentically yourself, but so honest, because it encourages other people to be honest as well. And even in this Christian walk, it's not easy. Please. It's a daily stuff.
Honestly.
It's a daily thing. And like, even with the next song, It Is So. Another bop, thank you. A bop. That hook, sin, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Inject it in my veins. I love it. Like, I really like that song. And again, I think your honesty in that song, even though it's like a fun, it's more of a bop and everything, but you're still literally saying like, hello, this is a real sin in my life. It needs to go. Goodbye. Like, leave. I'm moving on from you. What was it that made you bold enough to get to that place where you could be so personal in your music and poetry?
I think when I started with poetry, I was in a space where I was just going through a lot. There was a lot of transition going into uni. There was so much going on in my own personal life. And I felt like I couldn't speak about it just in normal words. And I don't know what it is about poetry, but it's like it's not normal English. Do you know what I mean? So when I started writing, it was just a way for me to get out what I needed. But then when I started the blog, I was like, I don't want to put this out and just emotionally vomit on people, because I just don't think there's no progression in that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, if I'm ever going to put out any kind of poetry, there has to be some kind of redemption at the end. There has to be some kind of, something to uplift somebody else at the end. So I started writing from that perspective, like, okay, cool. It's not just me going through all this stuff. Now, how can I help somebody else? So on my blog, I would write these pieces and then I would have a prayer at the end for people to read, and people would like message me and we'd have conversations about it and unlock a lot of stuff. And I was like, no, like, this is clearly what people need. We're not talking enough. And I think in our generation, we don't talk. It's either we talk too much or we don't talk at all.
Yeah.
And there's
it's
no middle
surface
ground.
level if we are talking.
Oh, do you know what I mean? Or people just emotionally vomit on people and there's just no aftercare. And I just feel like with poetry and art in general, not just music, but films, galleries, it's a way of communicating what your heart really, really feels without having to say it directly. Because I think sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming saying things directly. But people need it for themselves. And I always say, like, the most successful artists in general are the ones that are the most vulnerable.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Like, with Dave, for example, Psychodrama was impeccable because he was vulnerable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? All the greatest artists, like even when I went to the Bob Marley exhibition,
the
vulnerability,
on your Instagram.
It was amazing. But the vulnerability in his art, that's why people can connect, because we're emotional beings at the end of the day.
True.
But we try to act like we're passive when we're not made to be.
Yeah.
So I've always come from that point of like, you know what? I've lived my life too long being in my head and going through things by myself that I would never want another person to ever feel like they're alone. Even if they can't see me or connect with me personally, at least there's something there that they can connect to.
That's so good. Wow. And even like what you were talking about, adding the prayer at the end of these blog posts, and you mentioned the word redemption. I don't just love the word redemption because I'm a very Christian and, Jesus redeemed us. Hallelujah. Yeah. Amen. But also you did February 2020, which is the current month, 2022, which is the current month we're filming this in. You did a live EP, like a whole live show, a whole live experience called The Journey to Redemption.
Yeah.
Which... Sorry, I just tried to take a breath because this live EP, I want to call it a live experience. Like, I went on this journey with you. It was beautifully produced, beautifully shot. The sound engineering's on point. The live band is amazing. The backing vocalists are iconic. You look phenomenal. You sound phenomenal. Even just how I know you. I know you're quite a like chill person. You're not very in your face.
Yeah.
But even the way you spoke between the songs, it wasn't forceful, but it was also like guiding, like a guide taking you along this journey. It was beautiful. I'm talking a lot because it was lovely. Like, I would love for you to tell the people watching, the people listening about the journey to redemption.
Yeah, so I never planned to do it.
Okay.
It wasn't actually in the plans at all. Like, I knew I wanted to do more songs, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And then last year, I think around summertime, like God was telling me, you're going to do something's going to happen and it's going to birth something in you.
Wow.
And I was just like, I was kind of on the fence, like, okay, cool. I don't have a choice. Do you know? Do you know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. And then obviously you were there for when I gave my testimony in church. And that was the birthing season. That was just like, okay, cool. We're taking you elsewhere. And I remember, because at the time when I was going through all the health complications, I was working full time. Yeah. And I didn't want to take time off work. Like, as much as some days I felt like I wanted to, like, just to be like, you know what, this is how I feel. Like, poor me. Yeah. I just kept going and kept going. And I'm so grateful that I did.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because there was one day I went into work, and because I was having allergic reactions at the same time as everything else, I was just in my head that day, but I just needed to be present with other people. And because I was working in theatre, there was a lot of music going around. So it was just really helpful. And I remember there was one lunch break, the band just started having like a jam, and they started playing like this really heavy song, and no words of a lie, like I felt like my heart just opened. Like, I didn't realize how tight my chest was or like how anxious I was actually feeling. But the moment they started playing that, it was like my heart just opened. And literally the bridge of redemption just started coming out. I just grabbed my phone and started recording it into my phone. I was like, I don't know what this is for, but I'm going to use it. And I just left it there. And that's literally how things started being birthed from there. I was like, okay, cool. What am I going to do with this bit? Left it to itself. And then I had a meeting with my team. And one guy on my team was just like, I think you should do a project called Redemption. I was just like, yeah, whatever. I was just airing him for time. And then I sat back and I was like, you're actually onto something. Yeah. And then we started talking about colours, and we were like, red is really the colour we want to go for. And we're like, okay, cool, the journey to redemption. And then by the time we had finished planning everything and we'd written the songs and everything, it was like, now I get it. It is my redemption story. Like, from beginning to end, it's my redemption story. Like, the things that I've been through, and just being honest about the ups and downs of faith. And like, I don't know if you saw the thing that I wrote about what it means, but in the description I said that it's not that it's a journey to being redeemed, but the journey of realizing that I am. And I think that's what it was for me, that I finally got to that place where I was like, no, I am actually saved. Yeah. No, God actually does love me, regardless of the things that are going on in life. Yeah. Things are going to happen. It's never promised that, you know, we're going to live a smooth sailing life. It's a lie. Like, anyone who tells you that, it's a lie. Lying. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think just being open and vulnerable, just being like, okay, cool. I'm letting people into what it really looks like for me. Because it may not look like that for other people, but I know that there are other people who have been through similar things to me and worse. So I think it was very important for me just being honest and being open.
No, even you said, you might have heard my testimony. Since I was crying in that service, I was bawling in my eyes. I said, I came to look cute, and I was crying. And this is a podcast for women by women. So I don't know, I'm going to give you the space to say as little as much as you'd like, but if you could just share a bit about, as much as you're comfortable with, about your testimony. And I think people listening and watching will understand why I think women need to hear how God will really intervene in your life. Yeah.
I just remember I was just feeling really like drab for some reason, and I didn't understand what was going on. And I just remember sitting in my living room one day with my mum, and I just felt it, just, you know, just to feel it. And I found a lump, and I was like, that's new. But you know, like you get glands and stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just a gland. Maybe it's nothing like to worry about. But I just kept feeling, I was like, something doesn't feel right. So I told my mum and I was like, this is normal, right? And she felt it, and then she like, her face just said everything. And I was just like, yeah, no, this can't be happening right now. I lay down, she properly felt it. She was like, we need to book you an appointment ASAP. So it was like helter-skelter trying to get me an appointment, especially because of COVID and everything. Things were just all over the place. So we booked the appointment, but my mum was just like not comfortable knowing that it was in like 2 weeks' time. So my auntie, she's also a doctor, so we drove to her house in Gravesend. And she helped me check like other things because I was having allergic reactions at the same time. Like a lot of things were happening. And she checked my reaction. She was like, oh yeah, you'll be okay. Like take this, take that. And I was having allergic reactions to things that I was given by the doctors as well. Wow. It was just a whole mare. And then I brought it up to her and I was like, can you check this please? And she felt it and she was like, oh. That's all she said. I didn't have words. Like I honestly didn't have words. She was like, do you want us to pray? And I was just like, I want to pray, yeah, but the fact that you want me to pray means that there's something wrong. That there's something actually wrong.
Because nobody be eating chocolate cake and saying, let's pray for the cake.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a bad thing.
If something is going on, I was just like, right, okay. And I tried not to panic because I was like, this is not the time to panic. This is the time to pray. So I prayed and I went home and I was just like, okay, cool. This is interesting. But I was working at the same time. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go to work, do what I need to do, be fully invested in my work and then come home. And it was very tough. It was very, very tough. I remember being downstairs in my auntie's house that day and just calling like my 3 closest friends and being like, this is the situation. I need you guys to join me in prayer. And them just like their reaction. And God, I'm so thankful for my friends because not a single one of them was scared. Not a single one of them was shaken, nothing. Like I remember calling them and they laughed. They're like, huh? Not this time. That's not going to be the story. Okay, cool. Let's pray. And like they either prayed for me on the spot or took time out to pray for me. And yeah, so after that, I just started losing weight. Like my weight was just dropping because I was around a size 12 at the time and I dropped to like an 8, 6. And it was just like, it was really hard because I wear baggy clothes normally. So then my baggy clothes now being so baggy that I can't wear them.
It's not funny, sorry.
It's not even, but you know, it was just like, jeez.
This is no longer a stylistic choice.
You know, and I was, you know, through the pandemic, I was working hard to gain that weight. I was working hard. And then just losing it within the space of like 2 weeks.
Wow.
It was just like, whoa. And at first I was like, no, maybe I'm paranoid. Maybe I'm not actually losing weight. But putting on my trousers was the worst bit because it was just like, they were literally dropping at my waist. And I was having to buy like new jeans and stuff. So I was just like, okay, something is really, really wrong. Went to my GP appointment and she was just like, but you're so young. Because at the time I was 22. Oh, but you're so young, you know? This is so rare for someone your age. And I'm
Why
like,
is she telling that
you're not helping me. She was like,
wow.
this is so rare for someone your age, but you know, it's not impossible. I don't think it is, but I don't know. I'm just,
Ma?
She didn't know. She was like the placement of it, because it was moving.
Oh my gosh.
Like one day it will be to the right, next day it will be to, like it was literally shifting. And she was like, I just don't know. I can't tell you for sure. She was like, you know what? I'm going to have to book you in with the hospital. So put me in the hospital to then have a scan. And yeah, it was a lot. Like, obviously your parents try not to panic as well, but you know, them being on the edge, everyone's on edge. Do you know what I mean? But everyone's still prayerful. And I remember it was the Sunday before my hospital appointment. And I remember watching Transformation Church, and it was that one Sunday where it just ended up being a whole worship session, the whole service. And I just remember just bawling my eyes out and just like holding my side and praying and just being like, God, there's no way this is the situation. Like, this can't end this way. And it was almost as if it intensified like for the next like 3 days, because I remember my appointment was on a Wednesday, and it just intensified. And there was one particular night where I genuinely could not breathe. Like, I was just there through the night, and I remember praying and being like, you know what, God, if I sleep right now, because I really need to sleep, I'm exhausted, my body, like, and I couldn't sleep on this side because it was on this side. Couldn't sleep on this side of my body because I was literally in pain from the top of my shoulder to like the middle of my calf. I was in pain. And just being like, you know what, God, if I go to sleep right now and I don't wake up, then I know that it's done. But if I wake up tomorrow, there's more for me. There has to be more for me. And I woke up and I was like, all right, cool, let's get ready for work. Let's go. Because if I'm here, let me at least be here and give it my best. So yeah, I just remember the day of my appointment, I had work afterwards, and I told work, okay, cool, I have an appointment in the morning and I'll be coming in afterwards.
You were going into work?
My brain was so determined that this was not going to be the end of my story.
Wow.
That I got dressed for work and I went to the hospital appointment because I was like, I'm leaving this place. I'm not even going to think about getting admitted into this place.
Wow.
It's not going to happen. It's like, yes, I had that bit of like angst in me, but the amount of people that were praying with me and my mentors being like, no, you need to find a church. Because at the time I wasn't in imprint properly yet.
Yeah, okay.
You need to find a church, you need to be solid, and you need to focus because this is not a time to play. That was when I was like, okay, cool. Let me not even mope about and be like, woe is me, because now it's actually not the time. You don't have time for that, because God forbid, what if it was going to be a mad situation? I don't have time to pity myself. I don't. So I went into the appointment. I sat there. Bear in mind, I felt the side of my breast before I went to the appointment.
And it was there.
It was there. It was there. I've gone in for this scan and the guy has scanned me. He said, I don't know why you're here.
I literally have goosebumps. I'm ready to go right. Ooh. Okay.
He said, I don't know why you're here. I said, what do you mean? Like, I'm actually trying not to cry.
I'm trying not to cry, sis. Why are you doing this? No, sorry. Wow. Yeah.
He was like, why are you here? I said, what do you mean? He said, there's nothing there. Look at the scan. He took a picture of the scan, like, because they print it out straight away. And there was nothing there.
Wow.
I felt my side, there was nothing there. And I just remember leaving and being like, thank you. And being silent the whole car ride back. My dad was like, oh, everything good? I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's not there. He was like, okay. Like, I promise you, for like 3 days, I just couldn't I wasn't deep in what was happening. I was like, what? Because for me, it was like, okay, cool. It's one thing to have the lump, but the pain and the losing weight, I was like, something is genuinely happening to my body right now. So when he was like, it wasn't there anymore, I felt it and it wasn't there anymore. God. It just, yeah.
Master healer.
Honestly.
Like, master.
Honestly. And I think that for me was just like, yeah. Like, God actually sees me.
Yeah.
He actually sees me and he actually hears me, because it could have been a different story. It could have been a completely different story. Yeah. I'm still in awe of that situation, because till now I don't get it. A month later, I received the letter saying, yeah, we just want to confirm that there was absolutely nothing found, blah, blah, blah. Perfectly fine. If you ever find any other issues, please do come back. But there's no need.
Wow.
I was just like,
that's so powerful. Do you know how many women have been killed by this disease? How many women?
I genuinely felt I was next.
God said, no, you actually have tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and the day after. This is why I was so excited to see the live EP, because you have so much to give. Like, let's take out like the fact that you're actually incredibly talented and you're so diverse in your just creative bringings. Yes. But like the story, just even the story, they say that like cancer affects, 1 in 4 people or something,
Yeah.
like that many people in this country.
Yeah.
To hear someone be healed from it, do you know how life transforming that is?
It's ridiculous.
You're about to make me cry on my own podcast. Are you proud of yourself? No, thank you for sharing that. I feel like this is an issue that men and women experience, but like breast cancer just be taking out women. And
Often.
to have you on here as an artist who sings from a place of like, I am healed, I am whole, is life-giving. And I want to thank you for even sharing that, because again, I never take for granted people being willing to share the personal stories of how God has been there for them, because I think that that's the most important thing in our lives, in what we do.
100%.
So thank you first of all. And then even just to go back to the question, because I completely diverted when I was asking about your testimony, but yeah, vocally, like you're amazing live. I've seen you sing live at church and everything. But would you say you're more of a live vocalist, or, were you a studio babe? What's your go-to?
Oh, I think live. Because I think with live, you get to be a bit more free. With studio, I'm such a perfectionist. So even listening back to the audio for that live, I was like, this is terrible.
Okay, well,
like,
let's not go that far.
I was like, I sound terrible.
Incorrect, you don't. But anyway.
So I think just being in the moment and enjoying the moment is more what I'm focused on when I'm actually performing live. I think with studio, I have to be more like precise and on point. And I think sometimes my perfectionism gets in the way, and I can be there for hours and hours and hours, and I won't give myself a break. So I do prefer live just for that freeness. Yeah.
Oh, wow. When I was prepping for this interview and when we were kind of putting a date in and everything, I asked you what you would like to talk about. I asked what you were passionate about. And sis, and I quote, said, I'm passionate about keeping authenticity, the soft life, and being open and honest in gospel music. And so I was like, okay, we've got a lot to talk about then, because SheHH is all about promoting and encouraging women in Christian music all around the world, people that take music as ministry, whether that is as artists or as songwriters, or whether that is as producers or literally music managers, whatever sphere that's in. And a big part of that is writing and creating from a personal and honest place. We've spoken about it all throughout this interview so far already. But I would love to know what keeping authenticity even means to you as a person and as an artist.
For me, it's like everyone's story is so different. Everyone's story is so individual. But even though we have our own stories, we can always find like similarities between each other. And I think we were all created one person. Like, there's never going to be another one of you.
That's good.
So why be somebody else? Why not just be who you are to the fullest and be the best version of you possible than trying to be something else and trying to be someone else? And I think growing up, I did really struggle trying to like have a different sound or be like anyone else, because being in choir, growing up in a Pentecostal church, like I didn't have the voice. I didn't have it. Everyone else was doing riff and run, and I was just there like, okay.
Not riff and run.
And I couldn't, I promise you, I could not. And I always used to hate my voice because I was like, I feel like I sound like a child. I didn't like it. At all. I felt like I sounded so whiny. So I hated listening back to myself. But I think I just grew up and I was just like, you know what? This takes a lot of energy, like trying to be something else. It's just a bit jarring. Like,
it's a lot.
Let me just be myself. And coming from a place of not trying to be myself so that people will accept me, but being myself because I accept me.
That's
Do you know what I mean?
That's really good.
I think you have to get to a place where you accept yourself first before you can actually be yourself. Because if you in yourself aren't happy with you, how can you then flourish and be yourself? It doesn't work. It doesn't go hand in hand. There'll always be a part of you that's trying to be something else.
Yeah.
You first have to accept that this is who you are.
This is you.
And there's nothing wrong with it. And just be.
That's really good. It's true. How can you expect people to accept you if you're out here trying to change every single part of who you are? I've had the privilege of starting to get to know you. I feel like there's still layers to get to know you. But one thing that I always gas you on, always, without fail, every time I see her, and I will do this to the day I go from this beautiful green earth that God made, Your fashion and your style,
Thank you.
guys. No, you actually always look put together, but it's always effortless. It's not like forced. It's not like, oh, let me study and practice what I'm going to wear. Like, you always just look like effortlessly gorgeous. From the hair, this hair is new, by the way. She used to have locks. Okay? From the hair to the makeup to like the outfit, you always just look put together. And I just want to know if like fashion is a style and style is like a place where you get to explore your creativity as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think growing up, I always did the absolute most, like style-wise. I did the absolute most. Like things that didn't make sense.
I must swear them.
No, like literally, like I was the babe with the Superman top. You know the Superman tops everyone used to. That was me. So I think I just didn't care. Like I didn't care what anyone had to say. Like this is what I want to wear, you know. And I think because growing up, I wasn't really like as secure with like my body and size. So that's where the baggy stuff started to come in. But then it was like, I actually like this. Like, this is kind of cool. And I just stuck to it. And I've just always liked streetwear. But I think that whole balance of like being feminine.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But also being like laid back and just, you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just cool.
Like I always liked that. Like people like Tiana Taylor were people I was like, oh my gosh, like how does she physically do it? And I would always be like, yeah, that's how I want to dress. Like obviously not as explicit. But
it's very skin.
Yeah. But you know, but like the baggy fits and just like feeling comfortable. Because for me, comfort is everything.
Girl, that's my next question.
Oh my gosh. I have to be comfortable. If I'm not comfortable, I'm not wearing it. That's the end of that. Like, if I'm not comfortable, I won't wear it.
Now, speaking on comfortability, soft life. Okay. Is this just a buzzword that influencers love to push down our throats? Or is this a lifestyle? And what does it actually mean to you?
It is. And since I've started this soft life, well, I don't want stress again. Do you know what it is? I think for years, like it's always been like, oh, what's next? What are you going to do? And do this and do that and putting so much pressure on myself. And for me, soft life is just like, hey, just be, let it go. What needs to be will be. That's not saying you won't be motivated to achieve your goals, but I'm not going to put so much heavy pressure on myself that I'm not going to enjoy life. Like I remember doing a theatre training last year and we were told to write out our goals, and we wrote out our goals for the next 10 years. And I was like, okay, cool, nice. Then they were like, okay, write your goals for your own personal life outside of your career, outside of all of that. What are your goals? What do you actually want to do? So we wrote those down and they were like, okay, now fit your career goals in between the gaps of your life goals. And they were like, that's how life should be. Because if you let your career goals shape your life, you will never have a life. And I was like,
word.
It's true. And I think because we've been like conditioned to have this mindset that you have to work or you won't have a life
constantly.
But you need to have a balance or else you will go insane. And I remember there was a girl on the training as well, and she was in her 30s and she was talking about this and that about her career, but she wanted to get married, she wanted to have a child, and she was like, you know, I'm an actress, like when am I gonna have time? And they were like, nah, you do your life and build your career around your life. If you want to have a child, my dear, have a child. Go have your child and let life happen. Don't try and fit your life around your career because you will never be at peace. You'll never be happy or never feel fulfilled.
Come on, soft life. I'm here for it.
Please.
Soft life. Wow, that was beautiful. I'm trying to embrace soft life, you know, because I'm tired. I feel like I've been perpetually tired since like GCSE, since like year 9.
Literally, I can't do it anymore.
Soft life. As well as being like a singer, songwriter, poet, you do so many other things. And I didn't even know you like work in theatre because we've had conversations about theatre. And I was like, damn, she's so knowledgeable. Like, do you remember what I was telling you? I was like, I really want to go see more shows. And you were like, have you checked out? I was like, how does she have these links to her disposal? Well, clearly now I get it. But directing as well is a big thing you do. You also do voice acting. Just tell us, I mean, I know you said you're creative all through and through, but let us know a bit more about the journey outside of music, of other things you've been able to explore as a creative. Yeah,
I think theatre has always been my biggest thing. Like growing up, just being in the theatre space, going to shows, being in shows, like doing like the little summer camps and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So I was always like heavily involved with theatre, and I loved theatre so much. And I think because of the fact that it was so immersive, like I can't be distracted. It's just me and the stage. So I always loved that. So yeah, I just always wanted to be involved with theatre. I didn't actually know I was going to get into theatre until I took my gap year from uni, because I was like, I need to figure out what I want to do with myself. Took the gap year and went forward and started doing the directing training, because at my old church, I directed our Christmas production.
Wow.
Yeah, and it went really well. Like it was really, really good. I was very surprised. And I was like, okay, maybe I should take this directing thing seriously. Did the training, and I did 2 directors trainings. And then from that training was when I got my first directing job, and it was assistant directing job at the Young Vic, which was amazing.
At the Young Vic? That's wild.
It was amazing.
Sorry, she just slid that in like it's not the Young Vic. Oh, wow.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It just made me go, yeah, like this is actually what I want to do. So yeah, that was that with theatre. Voice acting was also something that just came randomly. I remember talking to an old friend, and they were like, oh, you have such a BBC voice. And I was like, what does that even mean? Yeah, I was like, thanks, but what does that mean? And he was like, no, like you should try doing like radio or stuff. And I was like, whatever. And I remember talking to my other friend and being like, he said that I should do radio. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to look into that for you. Sent me a random link and was like, sign up. Signed up. And then that's literally been it. Like, I just remember getting jobs like back to back for like a space of like 4 weeks. And I was just like, okay.
This is a thing.
This is a thing. So it's just always been like little things here and there. I've never like fully like been heavily invested in things other than music and theatre and poetry. But I've just always been open to just doing anything that's like expressive and would always be beneficial as well. So yeah.
What a blessing. No, I think that you said something really vital there about being open. I think sometimes as creatives, we get really rigid in what we believe we are, mainly because it's easy to categorize if you have 1 or 2 things. Once you get to 3 and 4, it's like, oh, I'm just multifaceted because I do this and that. And that's not a problem. Like we are made to be different and to do multiple things. And you can do multiple things well. I like how you said that you have seasons of doing things. Yeah. You're not like doing directing back to back and then also singing back to back. And also, because girl, you need to sleep. Hashtag soft life. Okay. So no, I really, really do appreciate that. You've just dropped this live EP.
Yeah.
What's next from When She Speaks?
I really want to work with new people.
Okay.
Like I really want to collaborate with people and collaborate with artists. I think it being like essentially my first year of doing music now, it's like, okay, cool. I've actually put something substantial. Now people can be like, okay, this is actually her sound. It gives me a bit more room to like work with artists that make sense with the sound that I'm going for. So yeah, I really want to work with new people and just expand my pen, just really focus and create more art.
Who would you love to, obviously, I mean, I'm not saying SheHH has that much reach, but who would you love to collab with?
Oh, okay. Right now, Ria Marcia.
Ria Marcia. Oh my, okay. So we have reach. That could happen.
No, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I've had a few conversations, so it will happen. That would definitely happen. But if I was gonna say someone like, it would definitely be Jonathan Reynolds.
Jonathan Reynolds. I love it. Why are you whispering these names? Let's shout it from the rooftops. Jonathan Reynolds will look for you. Okay, Amen. This will happen.
Amen. Because I just feel like, again, like he's very authentic and the things that he talks about. Yeah. Like I remember listening to No Grey in sixth form and being like,
okay.
Well, okay. Triggered.
I said, who's reading my thoughts? How dare you?
Literally. Yeah. So yeah, definitely Jonathan Reynolds.
Okay. I mean, that it may seem far-fetched now, but a lot of things felt far-fetched until they happened. So just keep working at it. And I feel like I would love to see more collabs from you. Ria Marcia makes sense because of your sound, but I think there are a lot of female and male artists within that sound, or even within the UK right now, that you collabing with will be phenomenal to hear. So I'm 100%. Excited. I'm very excited. Like how can even people keep up with you and what you're doing? Where's the best places to reach you?
I'd say best place probably Insta. Yeah.
You're an Insta babe.
Yeah. Yeah. To be honest, I really don't like social media.
Why do artists always say this? It was like if I didn't need it for music, I wouldn't be on social.
Honestly, if I didn't need it, I would have a brick phone. To be honest. But yeah, it's mainly Instagram. Not really on Twitter like that. You can sometimes. But yeah, mainly Instagram and then YouTube for like my poetry stuff and more music to come as well.
I've seen music videos as well, like visuals for things as well. Definitely. It's super exciting. Final question, SheHH Classic. We always love to know, because we're really big on legacy and what we leave on this earth. What is one thing, or it can be a combination of things. What's something that you would love people to know you by? When it's your time to go? Way in the future, because you're very young, okay? But way in the future, when it's God's time to call you home, what would you love people to say about you? Take a second.
Ooh,
Take a second.
What would I love people to say about me? She was an artist. Because again, when she speaks, for me, isn't just music. It's the poetry, it's the writing. Because I'm also a script writer as well. So,
ma'am,
I'm gonna have some stuff on screen in Jesus' name.
Amen.
So I want people to know that I was an artist. Like for me, my biggest inspirations are Jamie Foxx and Donald Glover, because they're not linear. They don't do one thing. But when they die, you're gonna know them for their music videos, but you're gonna know them for their movies. You're gonna know them for
their TV shows.
Exactly. Like the voice acting with Jamie Foxx doing Kermit the Frog. Like
he did a lot. He's done a lot. Was he not in Marvel as well?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, everything. Wow. Everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I want people to know, that she literally was an artist and she left things that like I want people to be able to look back on my stuff and it still apply to them and they can use it like beneficially for themselves. So yeah, that's what I would want.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, make sure to leave a like rating wherever you're listening to this, and to follow us on Instagram at SheHH Podcast.